Way back in April 2019, though many of you weren't around for it, I finished Season 9 of my TWOW. Some stuff went well, some stuff didn't, and to collect all my thoughts on it and air them out as best I could, I made a video. I wouldn't recommend going back to watch it, it was way too long to justify its own existence, but still, the format kinda stuck with me ever since. Whenever I want to talk about something personal, there is always this nagging feeling of, like, who cares? I can barely get myself to care about my problems, let alone other people, but even when it doesn't amount to much, I still find it therapeutic to just talk about it, especially when it's stuff that I've never really said before to anyone. So, here I am. Season -1 has ended after 2.5 years. As you can imagine, I have a lot to say about it, so one thing at a time. The time frame in which I hosted Season -1 coincides with a decline in my mental health that I've never really recovered from. And a lot of it, no doubt, is due to the pandemic, but there's a lot more to it. Over the course of the season, it became increasingly clear that I was having a problem keeping up with my ambitions, which is something that I've said quite a lot before to explain the 2-year delay, but I've never really spoken much about why that is the case. And to be fair, it's hard to articulate, but ever since I started hosting, I realized I'm pretty good at it, and I wanted to keep getting better at it. TWOW provided me with a feeling of mastery I hadn't felt before in my life, in a way. I was good at other things, especially in school, but it never felt as fulfilling. This community was kind enough to welcome me, and in return, I pledged to dedicate my life to it. And for a long time, I did. I hosted, I innovated, I tried my best at providing a little fun to as many people as I could, and it was addicting. Hosting a TWOW led me to learn a lot of things. Hell, I picked up programming for the sole purpose of making a bot to automate my mini TWOW, which I did after just a few months. The experience profoundly changed me, and pushing myself to improve the TWOW kept me going, even when real life wasn't on my side. But it wasn't meant to last. Truthfully, that mindset was probably never sustainable in the first place. As the pandemic went on, a lot changed, both around me and within me. Staying at home all day for months took a toll on my ability to focus and motivate myself to do my obligations, and again, I haven't really recovered. This extended to all aspects of my life. Despite having all day to do whatever I wanted on my computer, I started generally becoming more bored. I stopped really caring about school, and my grades have been tanking as a result to this day. And soon enough, my mental problems reflected itself in my TWOW. And I hated it. It felt like I was faltering as a host. It felt like I was failing at the one of the few things in life that I still had control over. I started delaying my season, and as per my ambition, I kept trying to overcompensate, which would lead to even more delays. This, again, brings us back to the Season -1 finale, which caused me anxiety for 2 whole years. But this still doesn't paint a full picture. For the longest time, before I even joined the community, I always felt some paranoia about exclusion, about not fitting in and not being welcomed. For many years, that fear of mine drove a lot of what I did. It felt like I couldn't rest until I asserted myself, whatever that meant. Of course, I never really knew what asserting myself meant. I never really knew when it would be over, just that it was a goal of mine, and it was all up to me and my own power to reach that goal. And so it went. Throughout the course of my hosting career, one of my biggest sources of pride is how many people say they've been inspired by me in some way or another. But even then, for many years, there was this feeling of non-recognition. For a long time, it always felt that the effort I put into my TWOW didn't really have a purpose, that it wasn't really worth it, and a large part of that was because my ambition was to be the best. My ambition to make something so big shocked the community so much that it was all they could ever talk about. I went down that road many, many times, and even season -1 was intended to be a simpler season, and in the end I stressed a lot over trying to make it as perfect as possible, trying to make the best season in history, trying to finally give back to the community something that was worth the hassle for them. Did I succeed in doing that with season -1? Maybe, maybe not, but also maybe it doesn't matter. And it never did. Whatever way it turned out, season -1 taught me a lot, as a host and as a person. It taught me many technical things with sheets and coding. It taught me about controlling my expectations, but perhaps most importantly, and something I haven't talked about yet, is it taught me the value of creative work. With the direction my life was taking and all these problems that hosting had caused me, this begs the question, is it worth it to just quit, walk away from TWOW for good, and stop hosting? And for the past 2 years, as well as many times before that, I was leaning towards yes. And so started a period of my life of 2 years without TWOW in the mix. I went to college, I picked up other hobbies, and I tried to turn my life around. And I was miserable for a long time. Very few creative endeavors even came close to being as fulfilling as hosting. And I think part of that is precisely because I became so good at it. For years, I've tried my best to fulfill myself in real life, but it was never the same without having something like TWOW to balance it out when things aren't the best in the real world for me. Back then, and to this day, hosting serves as a tool to keep me in check, so long as I could keep hosting itself in check. And almost 7 years later, it's still the same. It's still the same community. It's still the same TWOW, and although I've learned so much about myself and my capabilities in the meantime, it's still dark. And even if I can't be the perfect host, even if I can't put in as much effort as I used to, even if my old ambitions are out of reach today, what's a dark to do other than what he's always done? Learn from it, improve himself, and work smarter than before. And I do have a few more months of summer break left, so to end this negative note, coming soon to a TWOW near you, Season Pentagon! Yes, I am serious. Now, you probably have some questions of many different varieties, so let's do a quick summary. Why are you hosting Season Pentagon? Well, first, it's because I'm absolutely petty, even after all these years. Second, there's a common phrase that says creativity is a muscle, and after so many years hosting, I can confirm it's absolutely correct. After 2 years of inactivity right off the last little bit of season -1 finale work, I've finally picked up steam for hosting again. The hardest part really is just to start working, and I'm finally past that now. And third, and perhaps most importantly, I've been reminded what it means to host again. The season -1 finale was a project that broke me mentally in many more ways than one. The fact that I was not only able to finish it, but also give it a satisfying conclusion, and receive such a positive reaction from so many of you, it really means a lot to me, in a way that no amount of poetry and dramatic storytelling can really describe. This community has given me a lot. Friends, fun, and perhaps above all, the opportunity to feel good at something. Great, even. And to this day, I still don't feel like it's worth letting up. So I'm hosting this. Now for a little more summary. Season Pentagon should hopefully start sometime in late January, and from all I've learned about controlling my ambitions, a lot of aspects of this season will be way simpler. Aesthetics will go back to being standard, no fancy new aesthetics every single round anymore. Prompts will also be a lot simpler. Standards for prompts have gone like crazy high in the past few years, so I'm sorry to say that if you're looking for a season with crazy good prompts, you're probably not getting it here. A lot of the prompts are going to be like quite simple and old school, including many reboots of old prompts, so yeah. And like many of the more special things like video 1x1s are also not coming back this season. Just about everything that was a cause of stress for me is gonna get cut down. But off of the momentum I have from finishing my season, I've been working these past few weeks to prepare and, most importantly, streamline a lot of this season, and it's gonna be pretty cool. The bot, Dark Jr., will finally be coming back. Hosting a season without the bot was quite the experience, and I'm never ever doing it again in my entire life. Anyway, I'm also slightly bummed out that the cutting edge in mini trial automation is still work that I did in 2018. That season featured a bot that could record responses, votes, calculate results, keep track of stats internally, and control rounds and deadlines by itself. To my knowledge, that still hasn't been matched to this day, so it's gonna have to be me again to save the world in 2023. Needless to say, I've improved a lot as a developer in the 5 years since, so it's been pretty easy implementing these features so far. But I'm very much taking the simple approach here. I don't want to overwork myself with anything beyond what's necessary, so, no sacrificial defibrillation for now, sorry. For the first time ever in my trial, this season will not be vanilla. The twist is fairly simple, and I've worked my hardest to make something that's both fun and also to make it as streamlined as possible so it's easy to maintain for me throughout the season. In short, players will be able to earn polygon fragments, a form of currency, by doing stuff like performing well, super voting, or fulfilling one of the many achievements that are available. Some achievements are pretty simple, like obtain a prize or scraping around, but there's a lot more that are quite interesting, and with higher fragment rewards to boot. Despite all the currency, you're not going to be buying items for yourself. No, you and your fellow contestants will be putting your fragments together to activate sides. Sides are modifiers that affect the entire round or season. There are simple ones in the early game like decrease the elim rate or turn the word limit into a character count limit, but again, these will get pretty interesting as things will go on. There will be many sides, each with a cost, that must be contributed to collectively by players, a sort of crowdfunding, if you will. Some are permanent, some are not, and you can choose what you want to spend your own fragments on. And the twist is made in a way that eliminated contestants or even spectators can play along and fully participate in the twist, getting fragments and funding sides almost exactly as if they were a live contestant, except of course they can't battle for the season win at the end. It's going to be a lot of fun, I hope, and it's going to be mostly automated, and there's a lot more to it that I haven't mentioned yet, but you'll be sure to hear more about it in the future. So, I applaud you for making it all the way here. It's been 10 crazy seasons so far, and hopefully, next one will be even better. My name is Dark, and I am back, baby.